I'm not sure how fearful central banks and governments are of it. I think they want their share of it, right? They run countries. Their job is to collect revenues and provide services to the populace. If they can't collect their revenue, they can't provide the services. So of course they need to tax it, and they should tax it in line with other assets. And it should be a pretty straightforward process. And that's okay. I mean, taxes are going to go up globally without question. It's one of the benefits of living in the Cayman Islands. But taxes are going to, or in Singapore or wherever. But taxes are going up globally because we've got these largest deficits since World War II. So that's going to happen. I don't think that they need to ban it. I think actually, to have a good functioning ecosystem, financial ecosystem, you need alternatives. It's like, in the marine life outside here, you need sharks and you need the small fish and you need the middle fish. You need all the different things for a system to function. And I think they understand that. So they are trying to slow the brakes. They are trying to put the brakes on to slow it down. It's very clear that the energy story, Bitcoin is a waste of energy, came actually from the ECB.
Yeah. From the ECB, you think?
From the ECB, without question. Why? Because they want to slow adoption of the institutions. And the institutions all now have a legal ESG mandate. So if you can say, well, guys, because they've got around all the other stuff, it's for money launderers, blah, blah, blah. They've kind of stopped using that. They use it a little bit, but it's kind of proven.
No one's buying it anymore.
So the ESG, this is not your ESG mandate. I'd think about it if I were you guys. Boom, every single media outlet. And it's also not true. It's actually probably driving a green revolution more than anything else, as hydropower start becoming the best way of doing this. We're seeing places like Iceland, or gas flare-offs in Texas and in Canada, and all sorts of interesting uses of driving down the cost of electricity, because the more you drive down the cost of electricity, the more you capture in value in your Bitcoin. I mean, it's the purest thing, right? There's nothing else that creates value out of electricity in the way that Bitcoin does. So everybody's incentivized to lower the costs, and lower the cost means greening. So, and in the EU, for example, because of the new carbon system, the European EU ETS system, it means that the price of carbon keeps going up. So you can't use coal or oil to mine for Bitcoin, because you're getting penalized by the carbon that you have to pay for. So I think it's a very good thing overall. I think it's going to drive a revolution there. So that narrative is the other narrative that's out there to slow things down. And you see these narratives pick up from time to time. And it's to do that. I mean, the regulators are so far behind, they don't know what to do yet. Somebody has to take the lead. Asia's much further in advance in a lot of this. Singapore's done a pretty good job. Malaysia's done a great job. They're much further advanced in all of this. But then there's nations like India that are struggling to get their heads around, can we allow this? The US is a halfway house. Europe's a halfway house. It's a bit of a mess still.
Yeah.
It depends what you call by socialism. The European social democratic model, I think, is still pretty robust and has proven itself well. The only real issue has been the cost of welfare states with aging populations. But that's not any different than what's happened in the US, where they didn't have that. So the cost has been borne by the people themselves, which has probably created a larger rich-poor divide. So the European social democratic model, which Singapore kind of has some hybrid of as well. The UK obviously is very similar with its welfare state. I don't have an issue with. I do think that we will see what would be traditionally deemed to be more left-wing. We've seen more right-wing too. You've seen it in Germany, seen it in the US, seen it in the UK, all over the world, right? It's the polarization. The left-wing progressive policies to things like universal basic income are going to happen. And the reason being is, if anybody can find me a solution to this problem of wages never going up again in real terms, with machines or algorithms eating jobs, software eating the world is real. It's not going away. It's not going away when you've got you've got half the world's population, half the world's population under the age of 30, and you want to compete with them in wage growth. In wages, you've got no chance. So sure, you can bring industries home and protect your back borders, but to protect your population, you're going to have to make some wholesale changes. One is allow them to participate, which is what I was talking about with the tokenization and this new economic system to make it a bit fairer on people. But you're also going to have to give people an ability to offset what is going on in the world, which is technology. Now, it doesn't have to be a handout. It could be that you get paid to watch, to pay for your attention. I think tokenization will do that too. So we're seeing it with Brave Browser with their basic attention tokens. So right now, the economics of an advert that gets served on your YouTube channel accrues a bit to you, a ton to YouTube, and but none to the viewer.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a net depletion from the viewer. But if I'm going to watch that advert, I could get paid for it too, and Google could lower their share. And then I could create my own universal basic income by actually pricing my attention correctly, because we live in an attention economy, whether we like it or not. So there's different ways coming, and MMT, that's the other big one, the big socialist, the governments can print. Okay, let's assume that you were a tight monetarist government and you've been given a pandemic, and you're like, well, we're not going to print money and we're not going to give handouts. We're just going to let the whole thing implode in the largest ever GDP contraction outside of World War II or 1930. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to do it. So whether people like it or not, the other choices were worse. What makes me very interested is, look, we are pushing everything to the extreme. The MMT, the fiscal policy, the monetary policy, all of this is going to extreme, but we are building this alternative alongside that is a safer monetary system for all of us to live in. Already right now, if you're happy to keep your money outside of the system, you can get paid 6% on your US dollars. I don't know what the euro stablecoin yields are, but probably similar. You can get paid 6% to own your actual currency, but in digital form. And you can switch in and out of all the other digital assets as you wish, and never come back to the banking system. Okay, that's how far we've come. That's extraordinary. I can borrow money as well. I can get leverage. I can invest, all entirely outside of the traditional system. The hard part is, as we talked about before, is bringing money back, because I've now made some money, I want to buy a house, because in the end, all that matters is your lifestyle. That's all we live for. We're humans. We've got one life, we need to enjoy it. And having a bunch of money on a blockchain somewhere means nothing until you can use it for something.
True.